Hello, Payson. This is Gavin from the online magazine. We are here to interview Mrs. Knoll with the book Speak. Let's go check it out.
So my name is Mrs. Knoll, and I teach English 11, so junior English, and Spanish 1 here at PHS. So the book that we're reading right now is called Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. It's so good. It's one of my favorites. It's about a young girl named Melinda who starts her freshman year of high school and everyone hates her. And it's because she called the cops at this summer party at the end of the summer, and everyone hates her, but no one knows the real reason why she had to call the cops. So the book kind of follows her journey through her first year and how she's able to find her voice and speak up about what really happened to her at that party. Yeah, she's definitely struggling with depression. We actually did an activity recently to talk about the different symptoms of depression, to understand more fully what those symptoms might be and really find those symptoms in Melinda. I think that this is a book that should be read by all high school students. When I was in my undergrad at BYU, I actually felt strongly about this book more than any of the other young adult literature books that I read, that I needed to read this with my students once I was an English teacher in high school, because it talks so strongly about Melinda's journey through finding her voice and speaking up about this difficult thing that happened to her. And I feel like a lot of times as high schoolers, I was a high schooler too, it was hard for me sometimes to speak up to my parents or teachers about difficult things that I was struggling with. And I think that it's a really good tool for the future with difficult things that might happen with high schoolers, like friends or families, or even if something difficult happens to them, or with just having the courage to speak up about something they're passionate about, like about gun control laws or immigration issues and different things that are in the media right now. I think that it's important for everyone to find courage to speak up and share their opinion and share what's going on in their life. I think so, and that's kind of a big part of why I love this book too, is because it's not just, oh, if I've gone through something difficult, I need to learn to speak up, but it's, oh, I'm noticing like one of my friends is struggling with something and I want to help them to speak up. Because a lot of times there's this, I've heard in a lot of my classes, I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to tell on my friend if they tell me something difficult that they're struggling with. But you could save your friend's life by doing that if they're struggling with depression or with anything like mental health related. So sometimes it's being able to be the voice of reason to your friend or to a family member, to be able to help them to see it's good to seek help if you're struggling with something from a trusted adult. Yeah, so it's helping you to find help for yourself. If, like, there was one interview that I read from a girl online who said that when she was in high school, she read this book and she hadn't really gone through anything difficult, but then a couple years later, something traumatic happened to her and she remembered reading this book, and because she had read the book, it reminded her, oh, I should speak up about this because it's not my fault, I'm not guilty for what happened to me. And so she found strength through this book even years after she read it. And obviously I hope nothing ever traumatic happens to my students, but it gives them the tools that in the future they're able to remember what Melinda went through and how she was able to find her voice, so that they can, my students hopefully will be able to help other people find their voice as well as their own. Yes, yeah, I think it's definitely very relatable. A lot of different interviews that I've read or people that I've talked to, I even had a parent email me back, and after I explained to the parents of my students why we're reading this book, and one parent was like, I love that book, I'm so excited to talk about it with my daughter. And I really am hoping for that, for parents to understand that this book deals with many relatable things that high schoolers now are dealing with. And a lot of my students, I had them fill out a little index card to tell me how they felt about the book, and a lot of people commented on the fact that they felt it was relatable. I know that just a lot of young adult literature today, in general, things that have been published in the past 20 or so years, I feel like a lot of those that are realistic young adult fiction can be very relatable. Like there's one book called Sleeping Freshmen Never Lie by David Lubar. It's really funny, but it more just helps, I think, students maybe realize the need to like talk to their parents and talk to people even when funny things are happening in your life or difficult things you don't quite understand. I think a lot of people are afraid to speak up because they're embarrassed about what happened to them, or they feel guilty for something that happened to them even if it wasn't their fault. And I think that a big part of it is just it's fear or embarrassment most of the time. And so that's why I feel passionate about being a teacher. I didn't want to be a teacher necessarily because I love English or I love Spanish, even though I love those things too. But I wanted to be a teacher who I felt like my students, they could trust me if there was something difficult. And I've had some students, especially since we started reading the book, come to me about different things that they're dealing with. And I just hope that, I especially feel here at PHS, there's so many awesome faculty members here and leaders that I hope that students feel they can reach out to them, or they can reach out to their parents or to their friends' parents who they trust, because our goal is just to keep you guys safe. I love this book. I know I have some students, it's interesting, especially some of my male students have said like, oh, this is so boring. But I've also had some other people, boys included, speak up to me and just say, this is really relatable, and they're able to really relate to what Melinda's going through. And I'm hoping as the story kind of picks up a little as we get ready to kind of finish this book, that everyone's able to learn something from it. And I hope that all my students can remember that it's important to speak up, no matter what it's about. If they're passionate about gun control laws or no gun control laws, or I had one student yesterday talk about not wanting the speed limit to exist, like whatever you're passionate about, speak up about it. And if something's happened to you, speak up about it and get the help that you need.
This is Gavin, signing out.